Hello all, welcome to another lesson of the Rook vs Pawns endgame. This lesson we will cover the beautiful and brilliant study that Alexei Troitsky made in 1912. Troitsky was a brilliant composer, considered by many the greatest chess endgames composer that ever lived, and he made many interesting positions, and I found the timing perfect to present this one after already some lessons in the Rook versus Pawn endgame. So this is the starting position. So if you want, you can pause the video and try to solve it by yourself. It's white to move, and of course I'm going to present the solution, but I really recommend that you try it first so you can understand better the beauty of all this study. Of course, let's go for the solution. And the first move is pretty obvious. We simply take the pawn. So our aim to win the game is to promote the pawn, of course. Black to play. If black tries to approach the pawn, that's not enough because we simply can protect the pawn with the knight. The king tries to go to e7 to take our knight, but that's not possible because we can cut the king. And now even if the rook tries to threat to take the knight first, then we can simply check the king. The king needs to move away, and now advancing the pawn, black can't avoid us to promote a queen. So this is basically if the king tries to approach the pawn. But of course, black has a more natural, intuitive move, far stronger. That is to play rook c1 check, and now we are with a difficult choice. Again, try to give the answer first, and congratulations if you find out that the brilliant move is to play king f2 and giving away our rook. Of course, if we go to g2 to protect the rook, then black can simply take the rook, we take back the rook, but now the king has time to reach the pawn, and there's no way black can defend it, and of course this is a draw end game. So if you found this brilliant move, congratulations, you have made the first difficult step to find a solution to the problem. But of course this is not finished. Black takes the rook, and of course white advances the pawn. So now we are threatening to promote to a queen, and we know that queen versus rook it's a win. So we need to find a way from black for the best moves. Of course, black can't take the knight, otherwise we promote to the queen, and of course black also can't also control the file because our king is on the f file controlling the entrance point of the rook. So the rook needs to give a check, and we go up. Again, same situation. Black is in zugzang, so needs to keep giving the check. Again, we go up, check again, and now we take the pawn and check again. Of course, now we can't go up because otherwise the rook can take the knight with check, and after takes the pawn and it's a draw. So we need to go down. And again, same zugzang position. Black is forced to give a check, 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 check. And we are dancing up and down. So here is the key situation where white changes an approach and goes to the other side. So again, check is the only move, but now we are going up, but using the d file because either one file or another, we control the entrance point of the rook on the e file. So again, check, another check, another check, and now that we are here, another check, and I think now it will be obvious what is the correct move. I hope you can find it by yourself. And of course, not so brilliant as giving away the rook, in my opinion, like we did when we play king f2 and allow black to take our rook for free, but of course also interesting. Interposing the knight, blocking the check, and forcing the rook to make an option. Of course, if the rook goes down, just make it harder for it because we are going to promote our queen, but with the advantage of having the knight or forcing the rook to sacrifice for the knight, and then we have a queen versus king instead of a queen versus rook endgame. So now we just use this poor position of the king. Notice if we didn't have the king in this exact position, we would not be able to deliver this important check to reach the position that we want. And now we block the rook from the promotion square, forcing black to make a decision, like for example, giving a check. But now we can move on, and there's no way black can stop us from promoting to a queen, and it's an easier game. So sorry for this. I lost here a bit. Let's go a bit down. When the knight interposes, the rook takes the knight, check. And now, if you remember, we did a lesson about moving downstairs. So we have been moving up, moving down, moving up, and now it's time for moving down again. So we move downstairs again, we reach this position, we attack the rook. This is a similar position, if not exactly the same, that we saw in our lesson. So the rook tries to go to the e-file, but now we attack the rook, and there's no way the rook can avoid us to promote the queen, and this is the perfect solution for this brilliant study by Troitsky. Uh, of course, just one final conclusion. Uh, don't forget that this endgame with queen versus rook is an hard endgame. If you need to review, remember the masterclass I have that you can also study to be more comfortable playing this one. If you want, you can test this against the engine, and you'll see it's not an easy walk in the park. Hope you have enjoyed this brilliant study, and see you again in future lessons. Bye bye.